Please be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone good this morning? Yep. Good. Okay. All right, we're back on record. We are still in the state's case, and I believe we're ready for the state's next witness if the state is ready to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The state's next witness will be Dallas Neely.
Sir, please have a seat. And would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in this matter, so help you God? Okay, go ahead and put your hand down. Now I'm going to ask you to pull your mask down while you're testifying. We've got jurors spread out throughout the courtroom, so it's important that you keep your voice up so everyone can hear what you're saying. Okay?
Mr. Neely, you've mentioned to me before that I need to speak up, so if you don't hear something, can you let me know? And we do have to have answers of yes or no because we have to make a recording. Okay. Sir, could you please state your name
Dallas Ray,
and your address?
at 297 Albert Forge Road, Jackson, Ohio.
And did that previously?
No.
No? Okay. Did you live?
Brother.
And how are you related
Did
to the defendant, Lonnie Sheets?
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law? And how about Paul Sheets?
Brother-in-law.
And where was David living on October 30th, 2020?
14.
And is that in Jackson County?
Yes.
And did you see him that morning? Or did you go to see him that morning?
Yeah.
And what was the reason that you went to see him without talking about what other people told you?
We went to get, going to get loaded wood that morning.
Would?
Yeah.
And what did you observe or notice when you went to go get him?
When I pulled up there and I went to the door, was open a little bit. I kept knocking and hollering for him. And I went in and everybody was lying.
Do you know about what time you went to see him?
7:15, 7:30 a.m.
And what did you do when that happened?
I just had to be going 11.
Did you have someone call the sheriff's office for you?
I had to go find the phone.
And had you had the opportunity to observe David and Lonnie together,
In what way?
like interacting?
We just kind of loaded together, I guess.
And how about Lonnie and Lisa? Did you see them together? I'm sorry, what was your answer? And what would you say about the relationship between Lonnie and David?
Not well, it wasn't bad, it wasn't well.
And when you say not well, what do you mean?
They rubbed each other the wrong way, I guess.
And what about Lisa and Lonnie?
They had trouble,
When you say troubles, what do you mean?
marital trouble,
Were they always together?
on and off, mostly on, I guess.
Do you know where Lonnie was staying on October 30th, 2020?
That's my brother.
And that would have been David?
Yeah.
Do you know whether he was on or off with Lisa at that point?
Oh,
Had he been staying with you for some time?
that, he was down for about a month of days, stayed with me before that day.
How long had he stayed with you? Do you remember what that time frame was?
2 to 3 months that time.
So he was at your house for 2 to 3 months and then at Dave's for how long?
About a month.
About a month. And when Lonnie was staying with you, would you see Lisa during that time frame?
The last 2 weeks I heard they were together.
And when you say the last 2 weeks, was that the last 2 weeks?
I'm gonna check unless he knows, Your Honor. I mean, he's heard it from somebody else.
The way he phrased it was, he said he heard, it sounds like hearsay, but I'll give you a chance to rephrase that question.
Did you see them together in that time frame? The
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks you were just,
Long week, you mean?
yes.
I seen him, Saturday before my McDonald's drive-through.
And when you say the Saturday before, what are you referencing? Before what?
That'll be October 24th, something like that.
So that when you say that, you mean the Saturday before your brother was,
Me and Dave was together.
you were with Dave at that point?
Yeah.
When you saw them? And when Lonnie lived at your house, did you see Lisa?
Yeah, she's come here once, I think.
So when they were broken up, they would, how, would you say that they would still get together periodically?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And in fact, you saw them together just the Saturday before your brother was killed, is that right? Did Lonnie ever talk about David when he was at your house? I'm sorry?
No,
And did you ever have to help, did you ever agree to help your brother out with anything?
did I have them walk?
Help him with anything? Did he ask you to do anything?
No, we just did stuff together.
Did stuff together? So usually you didn't ask him for anything, correct? Did he ask you to drive anyone anywhere?
Good. Yeah, he asked me to come down after, take that Narquita home, got her home.
And who was Narkita?
Don't know her last name.
How was she related to David or anyone else? No relation. Why was she down here?
I'm gonna inject her, I think she was saying, unless he knows personally.
Give the state an opportunity to lay a foundation for his personal knowledge.
Did you know why Narkita was down here?
See home.
And do you have any, did you see them together at any point? And where did you take her?
Just shy of Indianapolis, Indiana, it's quite a ways.
And do you recall when that was?
Probably just a couple of days or that, 2 or 3 days maybe.
Did Lonnie ever talk about David? I have nothing further at this time.
Questions on cross-examination?
Yeah, you talked to the police, I think, first year in statement I have, December 29th, 2020. Is that correct? Chief Conley came out
I can't remember the date, yeah.
before New Year's, remember that?
What now?
Before New Year's 2020, but it says December 29th. You know, date's not important, but sometime in December, you remember talking to him?
Yeah.
Okay. And at that time, you advised that Lisa always hated David yelling, is that correct?
It was before they even know.
All right.
And
She hated him for years, is that correct? Is that right? Okay, nothing further.
Anything else from this witness?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, thank you.
The state's next witness is James Baker.
Sir, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in this matter, so help you God? Okay, go ahead and put your hand down. I'll ask that you pull your mask down while you're testifying. The jurors are spread out throughout the courtroom, so it's very important that you keep your voice up so your testimony can be heard.
Sir, could you state your name and your occupation?
My name is James R. Baker III. I am a paramedic for Jackson County EMS.
How long have you been working for EMS
For just Jackson County or in general.
in general?
I've been a paramedic, or I've been in EMS for 5 years. I was an EMT for 3, and then I've worked for 6 years. I was an EMT for 3, and I've been a paramedic for 3 as well.
And do you have any specialized training for this position?
I have advanced cardiac life support, advanced medical life support, pre-hospital trauma life support, pediatric life support, and geriatric life support.
Were you on duty in the early morning hours of October 30th, 2020?
Yes.
And do you remember a run that you had to make around 2 a.m.?
Yes.
And was that to 216 and a half Ohio Avenue?
Yes, we were called as a backup truck.
And that was in Oak Hill?
That was
And you said you were called as a backup truck. What does that mean?
we have 3 stations, so we have a station in Oak Hill, which is Station 10. They were dispatched priority because it is in Oak Hill, and then when it's something as the nature of this call, Station 9, who is staffed with 2 trucks, will get responding as well as a backup truck.
When you say the nature of the call, what specifically would cause another?
Unresponsive trauma, MVCs with, as normal calls for a second truck to be dispatched.
And would that be true in the case of having 2 people that are injured?
Yes.
And so you were the backup truck. Did you end up going to the 216 and a half Ohio Avenue?
Yes, we did. Station 10 was treating one of the patients, and then medic time crews, the trip I was on, took priority care of the second patient.
And that was also on Ohio Avenue, the
That was
second
also
station.
on Ohio Avenue, yes.
And did you prepare a report as, through your job duties of this call?
Yes.
I marked it, this is State's Exhibit 234, and asked you to identify this for the record, please.
Yes, this is my own report from that night.
And you mentioned that there were 2 people that were injured that evening. Which particular person did you treat?
We treated the male victim that was found at 216 and a half Ohio Avenue.
Okay. In the process of treating the male victim, did he describe what had happened?
Yes.
And is that important to the treatment of the victim?
Absolutely, because it kind of gave us an idea of what was going on.
And when you say what's going on, do you mean around you or as it relates to his injuries?
as it relates to his permanent injuries.
Do you have a copy of it? I don't have that.
Yeah, I can make it.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do that right now?
If you could, I appreciate it.
If it's
I'm
all right,
sorry.
Your Honor, I'll
Yep.
go in the library. and- Apologize for the delay, the copy machine didn't work.
That's it.
I'll get this back. So I just talking about, is it important to, you did document, made a report based on the call, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And, do you document what you do or what exactly do you document when you do that?
We document first what we were dispatched for, and then any pertinent information that dispatch gives us while we are en route. And then we document what patient we are treating, and then we start with, are they alert and oriented? So in my report, it says he was alert and oriented ×4. So the ×4 means he was alert and oriented to his person, who he was, the time, where he was, and the event that had occurred.
So is four on that or are there?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of people, and then when it comes to trauma, that is when you do the extra fourth, because that is the event that happened.
So he was able to, he was in a good enough condition to relay everything to you in an understandable manner,
Yes.
is that correct? And in the course of your treatment, did he tell you what had occurred?
Yes.
And what was that?
Injection, chemo did, Your Honor. You've already heard from the witness.
I'm gonna overrule that.
He stated that he had been shot in his left ear and that the shooter had held it down to his head and.
Did he indicate that he had other injuries?
Yes, he said that, the shooter had attempted to shoot him again and the gun had apparently jammed and then he repeatedly pistol whipped him once that had happened.
Based on what he told you, did you do any, did that cause you to, do any treatment for him.
Yes, we noted that he had some lacerations and abrasions.
And I'm gonna stop you for just a second. Lacerations and was consistent with the description of what had occurred.
Yes, lacerations and abrasions and cuts and bruises that would have probably occurred from the pistol whipping. And then we did take an examination of his left ear. We noted a small diameter injury that had already formed. And then at that point, we placed him in a C-collar just due to the statement of he was pistol whipped.
And why was that important to put him in a seat collar as a result?
And to protect his cervical spine in case of a spine injury.
I have nothing further to say.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right, witness is excused. Thank you.
Sir.
State's next witness.
We did have one more, but I'm not sure I saw her out there, so.
Okay.
Then I'll look into it. I did have one additional witness coming today, but she's not here yet. She was till 9 o'clock.
Do you wish to wait? Do you want to send someone out to look?
Can we step out hall and see if we can?
Sure. Why don't we go off record while we're waiting?
Your Honor, maybe we speak in chambers.
Okay. You're back on. Ladies and gentlemen, the state has a witness who is on their way, but isn't quite here yet. And so the state's entitled to have their witness. So we're going to take a short break. So move around, stretch. But why don't you plan on being back in your seats by, let's say 9:45? You can stay in here if you'd like, but if you do use bathroom or go out, be back here by 9:45. Okay? Thank you. Please be seated. All right. State ready to call us next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state's next witness is Paramedic Shoemaker.
Ma'am, come on up, have a seat. And if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in this matter, so help you God?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead and put your hand down. Now, while you're testifying, I'm going to ask you to pull your mask down. We have jurors spread out throughout the courtroom, so it's very important that you keep your voice up so people can hear what you're saying. All right? You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. And could you please state your name?
it's Tara Shoemaker
And what's your maiden name?
at Ely.
And can you give us your address?
It's 297 Albersworth Road, Jackson, Ohio, 456 Whittier.
And how are you related to the defendant, Lonnie Sheets?
He's my uncle.
And where were you living on October 30th, 2020?
With my son, Bentley McCarty on Ohio Avenue. It's 218 or,
And I'm sorry, it was hard to hear you. What was your son's name?
Bentley McCarty.
Okay, and how old is Bentley?
He's 20.
And how close was that residence to where Paul Sheets lived?
I mean, it's really close, like First Trade was just, I mean, I don't know how many feet or whatever, but I mean.
But
um,
Without going into feet or giving exact measurements, you said it was really close, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes,
And do you remember back to October 30th, 2020?
yes.
Could you tell us what you remember from that evening, or that morning hours, I should say, early morning hours?
The room that I was staying in, it has like a broken window, and we have like plastic over it, so I could hear really good. I just, I heard Paul like, yelling, I've been shot, and then, my ex-boyfriend at the time, he was knocking on the door, and, I went to the door and he said, Paul's in
Objection. Boyfriend said you're on.
As to what the boyfriend said.
he knocked on the door.
Okay, ma'am, just hang on. While we're dealing with objections, I want you to sit there quietly, and I'll let you know when you can answer.
I didn't expect it to go any further than what she just said. I think she just needs to indicate why she did something.
Okay, I'm going to strike then the statement as to boyfriend said.
Without going into what anyone else said, based on what your boyfriend did while knocking on the door, what did you do?
I ran up. Paul was already down to my Aunt Melba's, by the time I got out there, he was just laying on her kitchen floor.
And that morning, did you see anyone else in the area of Paul's, in that general area? Did you see anyone or any other vehicles?
Lonnie and Lisa's vehicle.
And where did you see them?
I seen them going up Cozy Glen. So it was after, after all of it.
And when was that? I'm sorry. When did you see them going up Cozy Glen?
Just right, I mean, as soon as I heard him yell, then like, I seen them leaving, like I said, I ran out there and then they was already, they was leaving or whatever.
And when you say Cozy Glen, where is that in relation to Paul's trailer?
I don't know how to explain it, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, his trailer's here and then, I don't know, there's a street and then Cozy Glen's like over here. Like it goes up, I don't know how to explain it.
So fairly close?
Yes.
Okay, and is it like within the same block?
Yeah, yes, I don't know.
Wait, can you see it from where you were?
Yeah, yes.
And when you said you saw that vehicle, how was it driving, if you know?
Just fast, I'm trying to, really fast, I can see, cause like everybody's porch lights are on, and so you can see a vehicle going off that road pretty good, and especially like a white vehicle, or like, like the darker ones are hard to see, but you can see a white one, like pretty good, you can see all of them pretty well.
And how did you know that it was Lonnie and Lisa's vehicle?
I mean, I just know the vehicle,
And did you know how well did you know Lonnie?
I've known him for 41 years, I'm 41, so I've known him all my life, like, I mean, I don't know.
How would you describe his relationship with Paul?
Popular,
In what manner?
they just, he didn't like him, I guess, I don't know.
Objection is the guess, Your Honor.
Just,
Hang on, ma'am. I'll sustain as to guess. That sounds like speculation. So if you want to rephrase that question or take another run at it.
Do you have specific instances about how they got along? Or conversations that you may have had with Lonnie?
He just always told me, like, I'll get him, I'll bid him, he's a narc, he's this,
When you say you had this person that was saying this, which one was saying?
Lonnie, he always talked about Paul, I mean, always, He didn't like him, I mean, yeah. But, he would act like you liked him into his face, of course, but he just always talked about him.
I have no further questions at this time.
Okay.
Cross?
Yeah, you made a tape statement on October 30th, about 4 PM of 2020, to Sergeant Irvin of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, and that was taped. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Is it yes or no?
Yes,
Okay. And in that tape, you indicated that Lisa didn't like Lonnie. Is that correct?
Lisa didn't like Lonnie,
Right.
I mean, it's her husband, I don't know.
Okay. Did you say that Lisa planned this?
I'm sure she had a lot to do with it, but I don't know for a fact.
Do you remember stating on tape Lisa planned this, yes or no?
I would object unless you had specific information about that. I believe she said she did.
Okay. Ma'am, when there's an objection, again, I'm going to ask you to stop speaking. I will let you know when you can answer. Now, let me see counsel in jury room. Sorry. I think I learned. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to strike the statement of Lisa planned this. So you may ask your next question,
Thank you
counsel.
very much. You did on October 30th in a tape interview with police, tell them that you know of no reason why Lonnie would kill Tad. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I guess it goes on the thing, yeah. I don't know why I didn't.
Okay. And you were aware that Lonnie had been staying at Paul's 2 days before October 30th. Were you aware of that or not? If you weren't aware, just tell me. Were you aware of that or not? Ohio Avenue, not the alley of Ohio Avenue. Is that correct? Okay.
They're side by side, right, right side by side.
Well, let me help you out, show you, so you don't confuse the jury a little bit. Maybe you can explain to just, jury scene 216 and a half, 212 and a half is Melba's trailer. You understand that? Where is yours in relation to that? Where, are you down here?
This is Melba?
Yeah, where are you at? And this is across the street, Davis Avenue.
No.
You're this way, right?
If Melba's here, then Paul's here, then Bentley would be here.
Well, where do you live?
Well, I was with Bentley at that time,
Oh, you were at this address.
yeah, right beside Paul's,
Okay, so that's where you were at that time.
yes.
Got it, okay. So where's Cozy Glen? Is that up this road here?
You would look this way, and it's the red, and it goes,
Okay, it's not the road, if you walk outside on that alley, and the alley goes up the hill and ends, is that correct? And what road is that? You don't know?
If you go out this way and make a right.
Uh-huh. That goes past the scrap yard.
Sign, and then we'll stop at the stop sign and then turn right back, goes away.
Right is Cozy
That's the
Glen.
best
So
way
that
to
is the
explain it.
road that goes down this way. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay. So you have to look over here to see any car leave.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to understand that for the jury. Nothing further.
Anything else from this witness?
And so when you saw the Lisa and Lonnie driving up Cozy Glen, which, were you inside or outside the place you were staying? Outside. And had you seen Lisa or Lonnie earlier, like that night before or anything?
No.
Okay. So that was the first time you saw them was when they were driving up Cozy Glen?
I mean, I saw the vehicle, yes.
The vehicle, thank you for
I
clarifying.
can't say that I see, yes, but
Saw the
I should be.
All right, well, thank you, I appreciate that. No further questions.
So, Your Honor.
Anything, nothing else?
That's all.
Ma'am, thank you very much for coming in. You're excused.
Okay, thank you.
Does the state have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
So with the exception of dealing with the admission of exhibits, does the state rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, during the several days we've been here, we've seen a lot of exhibits. The court and the parties are now going to have to spend a considerable amount of time going through those exhibits, determine which ones that you get to see. Rather than have you sit around here for possibly a couple of hours, I am going to send you home. In addition, and we have other procedural matters that we'd have to deal with, which quite frankly, I think is going to take us well into the afternoon. So I'm not going to make you sit around. We want you to come back on Monday. Now, we have a preliminary matter to deal with Monday morning, so would it be appropriate to tell the jury 9:30 or 9 o'clock?
Let's do 9, Your Honor. We have a motion already prepared, go have one, and we can
Okay.
discuss it, and the court's gonna look at it.
All right, so folks, want you here by 9 o'clock, Monday morning. At that point, the defense, it's my understanding, will be calling some witnesses. So, potentially. So we're not done. There may be more to come. So again, you can't form a conclusion or opinion about the case yet. Now, over the weekend, this is really important. You don't read anything in the newspaper or on the internet, listen to anything on the radio, or watch anything on television. Do nothing to try to get any more information about this case. I'm sure you've got friends and family that know you've been in this trial and are going to go, hey, what's going on? Tell me about it. You know, I'm in the grocery store last night. Hey, Judge, let me ask you about. No, can't do this. That's going to be hard. So just blame me. Judge says I can't talk to you about this. So, does anyone have any questions before I let you go? Okay,
Are we
sir.
starting at 9 on Monday, or do we show up at 9?
I want you to be here at 9, so we're ready to start. Ma'am,
How many days are we thinking next week? My boss is wanting to know when to open up my schedule.
I think it
No
would,
more than 2, it could be 1, Your Honor.
okay.
So like through Wednesday should be good.
I think through Wednesday is a very safe bet. We may finish sooner, but to be on the safe side, say through Wednesday.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Friday, I got a dentist appointment, so I don't need to cancel that for next Friday.
Nope.
All right?
You and your dentist can get together and,
So,
yes, sir.
do I just wait until we get done before I get an excuse to take back to my employer?
We can give you an excuse now if you want, or at the end, whatever your preference
Well, I'm
is.
not gonna be there until we're done.
Okay.
I work, so,
But we will give you an excuse to take.
all right.
All right. Any other questions? Folks, have a great weekend. See you Monday morning. Yes. I'm gonna go off right now because I want to do a little organization about what we're gonna be doing. I want off. Muting.
Hey, you're fine. You ain't got to wrestle with you.
from, it's Exhibit 1 is the autopsy report.
You know, can I have I don't have that list. Can I get a copy of it? Or Mr. Gall, you probably need a copy.
We can look at one together.
I have a digital copy.
Well, I'm gonna have one I'm gonna mark up, so.
It's,
Too late now. So the list I'm looking at lists exhibits 1 through 234.
yes, and there's some of those that are not, there's some of those that are skipped or we didn't submit, Your Honor.
And I think you have drawn lines through those to
I think-
indicate that they weren't used.
Yes, the first one on my list is the Lonnie Sheets interview, we did not admit. There are 2 3D scans of the crime scenes we did not admit.
Okay.
Number 27, which was boots, we did not admit. And I didn't cross these up, but I believe 29, 30, and 31, those were the actual swabs from casings. We did not introduce those. We did have testimony that the casings were swabbed and DNA testing was done on that, but we didn't introduce the actual swabs themselves.
All right.
I did also, and then this isn't an admission, but an addition. Exhibit 35, there's a 35A, B, and C.
Yes.
The 35A is the plastic containers, the bullets came, I believe this is from the autopsy of David Ely. Dr. Goolsby testified that the bullets went in a plastic case, so that's marked separately. And I didn't note it on my paper. But I believe the same thing is true for State's Exhibit 33, projectile from the left parietal lobe. The bag itself is marked Exhibit 33. The box that the doctor testified the bullet would have been put in by their autopsy, and this time I'm referring to Dr. Morrison. The box is 33A, the bullet itself is in a cellophane bag, and that's 33B. The same thing is true for State's Exhibit 34. In that there's a 34A, that's the box, and a 34B, that's the bullet in a cellophane bag. We already discussed State's Exhibit 35.
Okay.
I believe from there, the remaining exhibits, State's 36. Through 96, I believe, are all photographs taken at the first crime scene. That's, well, it's 216 and a half Ohio Avenue, but there's also stuff collected from 212 and 419 next door. I believe there's no omissions in that, so it's each photo of 36 through 96.
All right.
The next one, the next grouping is Dark Hollow Road, photo 97, or exhibit 97 through 124. And again, I don't believe there's any photos that we skipped or withdrew in that group. And then the next group for State Route 140, beginning with State's Exhibit and ending with State's Exhibit. Those, I believe, were withdrawn, so all those exhibits to admit. And then the next grouping is State's Exhibit 148 through 172, and those are all photographs at the towing facility of the Chevy Impala with plate HHW 4926.
All right.
And then State's Exhibit 173 through 180 are all photographs taken by, I believe, Chief Ward, the victim, Paul Sheets' injuries. And then beginning with exhibit, we skipped exhibit 181. The defense objected to some photos from the autopsy, and the first one that we skipped was, state agreed to withdraw, was 181. The rest of those photographs, so 182 through 204, were all photographs from the autopsy of Tabitha Sheets. I believe that's where the defense objected to 193 and 194, but those were admitted, or the state's moving to admit those.
Okay, and I see you've got a line through 201 and 202.
I do have a line through 201 and 202. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes, we
You pulled those?
correct. 201 and 202 were two of the exhibits that the defense objected to and the state agreed to withdraw.
Okay.
I apologize. And those are from Tabitha Sheets' autopsy.
All right.
And then moving on to David Healy's autopsy, we withdrew exhibits 205 and 206. So we would be moving to submit exhibits 207 through 230. That includes exhibit 214, which is one of the one of the exhibits defense objected to, but the state is still moving to admit.
All right.
231 is, I don't know that I had 231 on the list. 231 is a receipt.
It's handwritten on mine.
Couldn't think that far ahead, Judge.
It's okay.
It's the receipt from Porter Firearms that was testified to by a couple witnesses. 232 is the cell site analysis done by Jennifer Lester. for phone number 740-988-0972. That was the phone associated with the defendant Lonnie Sheets. 233 is another report by Jennifer Lester for phone number 740-821-2730. That's a phone number associated with Lisa Sheets. And then states 234 is a report that EMT just testified to, not the last witness, but one of the last witnesses this morning. I believe that is a summary of all of all the exhibits state will be moving to admit.
Right, and the defense agrees with that summary.
We agree with the summary of what they have. I have an objection on 232 and 233 in addition to that. And that's on that vector report that they had.
Okay.
My objection is that I don't think it was with enough specificity. It's demonstrative evidence, but I don't think it should go to the jury because it was not done with an exactness. They put it up on the board proper. They can refer to it, but I don't think it needs to go back to the jury because it does not specify where things actually happened at. It is not a GPS report. If you look at that sector report, there could be 20 square miles that deal with this. They can comment on it, submit, they can talk about it, being up on the board, but I don't think it should go back to the jury because it is not a scientific test.
I think your arguments actually go to weight. So I would note your objection for the record, but overrule it. The previous objections that the defense has made, those are noted, overruled based on the previous rulings. So at this point, we've got the list of exhibits.
I've also got the physical exhibits in court. Are you ready for me to hand these over, Judge? Is that what I'm hearing? They're not my problem anymore.
Well, when you phrase it that way, I'm not anxious to take it, but no.
This is relatively nice and neat.
Yeah.
The hard part is this other stuff.
Let's get a box to keep all of that in.
It's not huge.
But nonetheless, I'd rather, I've got a box, we'll keep it all in. Look at that. It's okay.
No, this stuff is not. I think these are bags.
Set that on the table. Yeah, I don't want it up here. I had enough stuff up here. Does the defense wish to move to Rule 29 at the motions at this
Yes,
point?
Your Honor, I'm ready to proceed with the Rule 29.
All right.
Thank you very much. We have a 4-count indictment. The state seeing the error of its ways and dismissing their old count 4 and substituting that for, I believe, 5, 6. So we have 4 5-count indictment in front of us. Let me go to the least controversial. I'll Rule 29, count 5, felonious assault, because Paul's not believable. I'll move on then to the tampering. The tampering, Your Honor, we're not sure exactly what they're alleging here, and I'm looking at the bill of particulars, and it says They washed their clothes and disposed of the murder weapon, and with the purpose of impairing the value. So I do want to speak to that. The clothes were never taken. They were never analyzed. And there's no evidence whatsoever that my client put those clothes in the machine or had anything to do with Washington or washing them. And there was a bottle of bleach beside the washing machine. Nobody ever said bleach was used in that washing machine. So there's no evidence that my client did that whatsoever, nor is there any evidence that he impaired the value of the alleged weapon. And because from the testimony I heard today, nobody ever asked him where the weapon was. They searched the trailer, they searched the car, and nobody ever asked him, where's the weapon? What'd you do with it? What happened to it? They had asked him, might have been able to tell him at the statement that he gave, but nobody bothered to do that. So the tampering count, I think, should be dismissed. More importantly, going to count one. Count one says, did purposely and with prior calculation and design cause the death of David Ely? There's really absolutely nothing in the record to support that. All we have in this case are 32 caliber bullets. 32 caliber bullets were purchased by Lisa Sheets. We know that on 10/29, about 3:58 on that date at Porter Firearms. There's no evidence indicating who was in the car with her at that time, other than this Vector report that might have been 1.7 miles away or in that circumference. Doesn't show who's in that car. Besides Lisa, the 32 caliber chamber, the casings not match, but there's a question as to whether or not it's the same ammunition that came from the same gun. No question that the same bullets were used to kill David Ely from the same gun and Tabitha. I think that's been established. The problem here is where's prior calculation and design in this case? We heard nothing. We've heard absolutely no evidence of prior calculation and design. So I'm moving to dismiss count one based on that in reference to David Ely. All we know is he was shot in the shoulder and in the head. Looks like apparently from the autopsy photos there was some struggle. We don't know where that came from, who struggled with him. We have no idea. All we have are 32 caliber casings at the scene and bullets in his head and shoulder that match the ones from Tabitha that came from the same gun. That goes to count two. What prior calculation and design was there to kill Tabitha? The most recent witness we heard is that she had no idea. This is the niece of Lonnie, had no idea why Lonnie would kill Tabitha. None. And again, all we have, if you look at the evidence most favorable to the state, that's the standard you have to use, is that we have Lonnie in the back of the trailer when Paul comes in, if you believe him, this is what the court standard the court has to use, does not see him in the bathroom. There's one comment, Tabby's in the bathroom, but it doesn't say who with, and it doesn't show prior calculation and design, and even Paul stated he has no idea who shot Tabitha. He didn't see anything. There's no motive. There's nothing here to indicate prior calculation and design. And most importantly, when Paul allegedly left, we have Rebecca Montgomery, Lisa Sheets, Tabitha, and Lonnie, 4 people inside that trailer. And he allegedly said he was only gone 12 to 15 minutes, going out to get more drugs, and then going to get pot, and then coming back. And when he comes back, or is estimated since the time reported was 12:17, he comes back maybe 2:15, it was reported 2:17. When he comes back, quick incident happens within 1-2 minutes based upon the testimony, We don't know what happened during that 12 to 15 minutes. There's no evidence of prior calculation design. There is no evidence why my client had a plan to kill Tabitha. That count should be dismissed. Reference to count 3, attempted murder, I'm believing that's going to Paul, if I'm correct. I don't think there's an attempt to shoot him. Shot in the ear, there's a struggle, there's a fight, allegedly, based on what Paul says. The court can decide what to do from there. But I don't think that qualifies as attempted aggravated murder. It says attempted aggravated murder. So I'd ask that be dismissed. And so the state has failed to produce evidence of prior calculation design anywhere in this case. Where's the blame? I don't hear it, I don't see it. So I'm asking that count 1, count 2, and count 3 be dismissed. Count 4 is now the felonious assault. I made my brief comments on that. And count 5 is the tampering, and I've already discussed that with the court. So I'm asking that the court, looking at the case most favorable to the state, dismiss all the charges dealing with prior calculation and design. Thank you.
For the state.
I have this one more.
Sure.
Your Honor, as to the tampering with evidence, the bill of particulars does indicate that the defendants washed their clothes and disposed of the murder weapon, particularly the murder weapon. The only evidence we have putting the gun in anyone's hand in this incident is that it was the defendant that had the gun in his hand. Officers and investigators in this case then went to arrest the defendant and Lisa Sheets at their home at 8404 140 State Route 140. Again, just hours after this incident, they searched the home twice. They searched the vehicle and located no firearm, though they did find live .32 semi-automatic ammunition in that home, indicative of where's the gun. Now, defense posits that had they asked the defendant where the gun was, he would have told them. I suspect that's not the case. Officers, we didn't receive testimony that officers asked him if he was, basically confirmed him with the news that Tabby and Paul had both been shot. They didn't know about David at that time. And upon confronting him with that, he denied it. So there'd be no point to ask him where the gun was at that point, because he denied knowing anything about it. But more importantly, the tampering of evidence as to the gun would have been completed once he disposed of the gun, however he disposed of it. A jury or reasonable finder of fact can interpret from the evidence that the gun wasn't present in the car, the gun wasn't present in the house, and it's neither of those or on the person of the defendant or Lisa Sheets because they disposed of the gun when they fled from Oak Hill to their home in Wheeling. As to the aggravated murder counts, principally if I understand the motion, is the issue of prior calculation design. The instruction reads, prior calculation design means that the purpose to cause the death was reached by a definite process of reasoning in advance of the homicide, which process of reasoning must have included a mental plan involving studied consideration of the method and the means or instrument with which to cause the death or unlawful termination of another's pregnancy. To constitute prior calculation, there must have been sufficient time and opportunity for the planning of an act of homicide, and the circumstances surrounding the homicide must show scheme designed to carry out the calculated decision to cause death. No definite period of time must elapse, and no particular amount of consideration must be given, but acting on the spur of the moment or after momentary consideration of the purpose to cause the death is not sufficient. The evidence is clear that the defendant sought a gun just days before this incident. The defendant's wife, who he was in cahoots with, who he was arrested with at the home in Wheelersburg, was buying ammunition, I think something on the order of 12 hours beforehand. Paul Sheets and other witnesses placed the two of them at the scene of the incident at 2 a.m. on October 30th, and then officers arrest them at their home mere hours later. I think it was 4 or 5 in the morning, with her washing her clothes in the lawn, her clothes and shoes in the laundry, and him admitting he had washed his hair. And they found his blood in the sudsy water of that tub. The simple fact is, Your Honor, that the prior calculation design was in the hours and days before this when they acquired a gun, they acquired ammunition to execute these people. I think the defense also moved against the attempted aggravated murder of Paul Sheets. I think the same reasoning applies there. The defendant also is charged with felonious assault against Paul Sheets. And in the stated in the bill of particulars, it's because he shot him with a .32 caliber firearm and then struck him in the head using the firearm as a blunt weapon. Again, I think the testimony of Paul Sheets, the photographs of his injuries all support that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything additional from the defense?
There you are.
Applying the criminal rule 29 standard, the court is going to deny the defense motion. I think a great deal of the argument is going to deal with credibility, and that's for the jury to determine. So now we'll move on to jury instructions. When are we going to go over those? Are we ready to do that today, or is that something we're going to do Monday afternoon?
Judge, that's something we could do Monday. I realize we might be pushing a lot on Monday, but I don't think I'm prepared though.
Okay, well,
And I understand. Judge, it's gonna be real brief on Monday. We're gonna have a session about this long in the morning for witnesses, I suspect.
so we would have time in the afternoon to do our charge.
I think we'll have time.
Okay,
And then we do closings. I think we do closings first thing on Tuesday, Judge.
That's what I wanted to ask is, if you anticipate we're going to start 9 a.m. and that's defense case,
yes.
and then defense case will close and we'll dismiss the jury for the day, asking them to come back Tuesday. And then the balance of Monday will be jury instructions and anything else? Oh, well, I guess I admitted at the beginning of Monday, we've got to do, that's when we're arguing the motion. And have you filed the motion?
We had just got filed, I think, like 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
In judgment, I'd be prepared to do a closing on Monday afternoon. I don't know what the court's preference is.
My,
That's what I just want to know.
I would rather, we're going to be had
I
some
prefer
people.
that. That's just the normal. We do the exciting part, we're gonna get them all boarded up.
I was thinking it, Judge, but I didn't say it.
All right.
I'm having like PTSD flashbacks, Judge, to it, like doing a 30 or like 60 count indictment and be like, boy, I really wish I'd been indicted as I'm listening to your instructions.
I'm indifferent as well. I've had some people go, Judge, I want you to do it,
I look
I
at
don't
you, Judge, if you'll let us reference. the
Yes,
paper.
I will let you reference.
Hand is what we're-
Sure, I'll let you reference it.
I prefer, it's just
Okay.
that I haven't done it that long.
I get it. What,
I am trying.
well, not yet. What other housekeeping matters do we have to accomplish today?
What's that? Your Honor, we're not gonna do anything with Rebecca. Remember, we talked about that, we don't care now. Rebecca Montgomery's statements and so forth.
Yes,
We're not gonna try to get those in.
okay.
So the statement you want to get in, is it?
The statements, so the court knows, we have a motion filed, and we have a tape on September 19th, 2020 of Lisa. We have a copy of that, if the court wants to look at that.
I do.
In advance of Monday's argument.
Yep.
And we also have a transcript attached to what we wrote down. You could follow along. It's pretty easy to
Okay,
understand. It's about 10 pages, but double space type, so it's not lengthy. About 7 minutes total on the tape. In addition to that, we have 2 police reports, but basically they're the same. It's from Officer Copus, and it deals with a July 29th, 2020 attack by Lisa on the home of David Yealy. She had a club. She had Kate Basham with her. Danny Carter was there. We can't find Danny. We have Kay subpoenaed for Monday. And the allegations are that Lisa came in trying to kill Lonnie with a club or gun, depending on which incident you look at. And that was at David Yealy's trailer. They made a police report. Police went out, took the report. Nothing ever happened after that. And then we have some other witnesses who conceivably could say Lisa was looking for hitmen to kill Lonnie. That's what they would testify. Lisa tried to hire me to kill Lonnie. And that's where we're at.
Good.
I subpoenaed also the jail where Lisa attempted to have another individual that the state provided, Margot, and I can't recall her last name. Smith, is that, yeah. We've asked her to come in, so the court should be aware of that, is that Lisa attempted to hire or influence another individual at the Monroe County Jail to say that Paul Sheets killed these people. That's while she was in jail. So we got all sorts of interesting things for the court. Right now, we got a pretty clean transcript after Monday week one.
maybe despite your best efforts, Mr. Toy, I will strive to make sure it remains a clean record. Now, let me ask you a question about this police report from Copus. Who?
Copy of it, Joe. It's attached to our motion.
Okay, who is Sergeant Copus interviewing?
The report came in, Mr. Yealy. He's deceased.
And
He's not available. He's dead.
I think we agree with that part. It's the other part that we're a little. I think that's a statement against this
and on the
pecuniary or criminal interest.
on the tape, Lisa's on the tape?
Lisa's on the tape talking, and you particularly want to look at page 5. It says, you need to look at the motion, Judge, and see what we have here attached. It is what it is. Okay. And on page 5, I'm giving like preliminary arguments. But page 5, she says, Lisa on tape to Officer Ratcliffe, while she's out stalking where Paul and Lonnie are at, she says, there's gonna be a problem, okay? And the officer said to beforehand, nothing, pretty much, I don't see any problems. There's gonna be a problem. So she talks about it. It's a whole context. You need to see her demeanor, Your Honor, when you review this
All right, well, let me ask you this. The statement of David Yealy, are you arguing under 804B5 that is being admitted?
We will give you additional information, Your Honor. And we've got a motion attached.
Okay, but does your motion deal with all of these statements you've referenced here this morning?
It does, I mean, not as, I can make it more specific if you would like me to, but I would reference the rules as far as that we're planning on using, in constitutional provisions and several Supreme Court of Ohio cases.
Okay, and you have authority that also addresses the 804B5 exception, statement of deceased or incompetent person?
Not 804B5, 804B3.
All right, well,
Get additional memorandum.
if we're talking about David Yealy, the only conceivable basis I would see is 804B5, statement of deceased person. If there's, I think that's where the battle is.
I've cited other rules, since it was a phone call of a present citizen's impression of people outside their house with guns and clubs. I've cited 8031. I've cited others because there are people outside with guns and clubs outside of his home, and 8033, I believe, so.
Okay, well, I look forward to reading it.
Actually, got case law. Very proud of you.
Okay. Now, obviously, the state has yet to actually, see the motion. And,
Correct, Your Honor. And I would anticipate you filing a response, once I've seen it and had a chance to digest it.
okay. At what point might you be filing your response?
I'm not sure.
Because I would like to read it before.
I think it would be helpful if you read it.
Yes.
I agree.
And I typically read everything cover to cover, everything that's filed, so.
When do you want it, Judge?
It's Friday, I'm thinking, how are we?
It's almost, 11 o'clock.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
I mean, if you can email it to our email, over the weekend, Chris, I can get it to the judge.
Which email?
The JCCP court.
Okay.
I can access it at home and get it to him over the weekend. I know that's probably not what he wants to do, but I mean.
Well, it's what I am gonna do, because I can't expect him to get it done by the day.
I can give you my cell phone number if you want to shoot me a text and tell me that you've emailed it to us.
Okay, so jccpcourt@gmail.com, okay. Just
I've got her number.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you probably don't want to have your number
Yeah.
going out.
yeah.
I have it.
If you just
Okay.
want to shoot me a text and say
Okay.
that it's been emailed, and I'll print it out for you.
So if I said,
Have you guys actually filed yours? Like, can I get a copy of it on the?
I'll print it out for you.
Well, what I was gonna do, I have a smarter person than me, hard to believe. And I might ask her to get started on it, because she can do it faster and better than I can.
if I said if I had it by Sunday,
Yeah, I think we can do that. She might kill me, but I'll.
It's Mother's Day.
I don't wanna get you in trouble at home, Judge.
yeah, that's,
Can I end the stream?
yes, we can end the stream.